He asked me if I wanted to help him win the war. And I thought, well, that's provocative. Sure, what do you got? And I got kind of deeply enmeshed in drone warfare. We're lobbying missiles, but these missiles have like computers and computer vision on them. I have a company called Vermeer. We build a vision-based navigation system. We call it VPS. It's essentially designed to kind of solve the nasty GPS jamming and GPS spoofing problem. We're at the very, 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 very first stages of this stuff. If you're like on the front, you learn about what the enemy is doing, then it's up to you to think and move your chess piece. What am I going to do now?
Hi, this is Dan Meiji, CEO and co-founder of Firestorm. And this week on the Drone Wars podcast, we're joined by my buddy Brian Streem. He lives in Ukraine. He has the greatest defense tech origin story that I personally know about. And he works day in and day out with folks on the front lines using drones in one of the most difficult battlefields in the world. And we're going to talk all things Vision Nav. Brian, thanks for joining us. You're calling in the middle of the night from Eastern Europe.
Yes, I am. How are you doing? Thanks for having me.
I'm good.
Yeah.
How's Ukraine today?
Ukraine today, it's cold, and it's actually brutally cold today, and it's dark. It gets dark around here. I mean, I'm living in Kyiv. I've been living here about 10 months. And it's depressing. It gets cold all the time, and it gets dark around 4 p.m.
So you basically wake up, you go to work in the dark, and you come home in the dark.
Well, it's actually kind of worse than that, because most of my company. So I've been here 10 months, 11 months, and my company's still in New York, and I have some folks in California. So like my hours are like I start doing stuff at 10 a.m. and then I'm usually up until 2 a.m. because everyone's 7 hours behind me at least doing. I have customers, like you and others in Southern California that I have to kind of be on the line for. So my schedule is a little weird. And tomorrow I am waking up early to do some test flights with the customer out here, and for a little competition that is happening that you might know something about.
Might have heard something about that.
It might have heard something about it. Yeah. So what am I doing out here? So I have a company called Vermeer. We build a vision-based navigation system. We call it VPS. It's essentially designed to kind of solve the nasty GPS jamming and GPS spoofing problem. What we do is we take 1 to 4 simultaneously running EO or IR for nighttime cameras. Those cameras go into a little NVIDIA computer that has our software on it, and attached to that little NVIDIA computer is a little hard drive that has a previously acquired 3D terrain map database on it that we get from a third-party aerial imagery provider. So essentially, as the drone flies through the environment, the cameras see the terrain, and the deep neural network matches the terrain to the locally stored 3D map database, essentially replacing the need for GPS. And people like it because you can't jam it, you can't spoof it, it does not emit or receive any signal. It works at low altitudes, it works at high altitudes, it works during the daytime, works during the nighttime. It's relatively accurate, even over kind of deserts and farmland and stuff like that. And I've been here for most of the year, living in Kyiv, essentially integrating my this capability into lots of different kinds of platforms, anything from Group 2 ISR up to kind of Group 4 deep strike, long range sorts of platforms. It's been interesting. I've been living a life of intrigue.
Stream's fun.
Yeah. I mean, the environment here for EW, is pretty horrendous. 6 months ago, 12 months ago, there were SERPA antennas being kind of utilized for navigation purposes, but that pretty much has been, it has been kind of small minor gains. It's been kind of like a small escalatory battle of kind of like, we're going to go on this frequency, then they're going to jam the frequency, then we're going to go on the frequency, then we're going to jam the frequency. So kind of like this SERPA antenna thing isn't really working out. People are trying to use L1, L2, even L5 band is kind of being eaten away at. And And, in order to kind of solve this problem, you kind of need like not minor gains. You need a pretty profound, radical, paradigm shifting sort of capability. And I kind of think that is what computer vision is going to lead, or going to kind of like pave the way for. That's the solution. It's going to be, you're going to have to give like these platforms essentially sensors, eyeballs and a brain, like an NVIDIA computer, to essentially allow the drone at the edge to kind of make its own decisions and kind of be able to know where it is without any sort of communication to satellites or the outside world, or without any kind of human being in the loop. Yeah, I guess I kind of tell you a lot more of stuff, but I don't know. Maybe you have some questions.
No, I look. This is exactly what I think folks need to kind of hear and learn about, right? You're basically saying incredibly rough EMI environment with GPS jamming and spoofing is just table stakes in Eastern Europe, right?
And the EW stuff, yes, it's table stakes. I mean, the EW stuff is like going to be now a part of every single war. It's gone, and you cannot rely on GNSS anymore, like whatsoever. Yeah, it's pretty. It's exciting because the capability that we have. I mean, we've essentially been building it for the last like 4 or 5 years or so, and it's taken a lot of money, and it's pretty sophisticated to kind of do. Now, I'm starting to see like a lot of people trying to do like similar things. My kind of thing is like, good luck and Godspeed. I actually know how hard it is to actually like kind of develop this technology, and it's it's challenging. It's different than it's one thing to kind of show like a little kind of demo, but actually kind of like have a product and attach it to the bottom of a long range platform and actually deploy it into battle and have it like work is kind of that's a different thing.
Maybe you can't share this, but like what's the furthest one of your Vermeer powered platforms has flown through GPS denied or spoofed environments?
Probably about like 1,000 or so kilometers. And those people in America, like, what is that? That's like flying a commercial flight from New York to Florida. It's like a long commercial flight. So our system, just to be clear, like, we take maps and we put them on a hard drive, but we could probably, the maps are pretty lightweight. So ostensibly, I think you would probably put like a map of like all of Europe and Asia. So you could like fly from, Portugal to China. You kind of just have like a strip of map that kind of went that distance, and the system would be able to handle it, no problem.
So you've lived out there for a year. You've been able to accomplish some like incredible stuff here, right? Like, talk to me how important it's been being kind of working with folks using this stuff on the front lines and iterating what sounds like in real time with them to improve the product.
Yeah, if anything, like, our capability is kind of, it's very new sort of technology. It's very, like no one is really, no one is kind of like no one has really done this before. And like, just like the drone warfare that's kind of going on is unique. We're lobbying missiles, but these missiles have like computers and computer vision on them. Like, we're just like lobbying them like over every day. And it's been brutal. It has been very low success rates, due to not just EW. Like the EW is 50% of the battle. The other battle is, air defense systems. There's AD all over the place. So you get through the EW, great. You've only solved half the problem. So all of this kind of results in like, you have to develop like sophisticated con ops to kind of penetrate the line and kind of cut through. It's like kind of coming up like a football coach coming up with like a complicated play to get the ball into the end zone.
Drone Wars is recorded from Firestorm's global HQ in San Diego, from our custom-built studio inside one of our hero products, a modular industrial-grade manufacturing facility designed to be deployed anywhere in the world within 24 hours for on-demand drone production. Each week on the podcast, we bring you cutting-edge insights from top industry leaders, sharing the breakthroughs and technologies they're working on, the hard lessons they've learned, and bold predictions that they have for the next 5 to 10 years in autonomous systems and advanced manufacturing. Enjoying the show so far? Then be sure you like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Now, back to the show.
What's been valuable is not just kind of like the good news is it seems like the whole industry is kind of consolidating around like, Orange Cube flight controllers or kind of Mavlink-based flight controllers, and like, which is fantastic because now people could like develop, sensor payloads that are, more or less plug and play. But like, really, like the thing is like learning about what the enemy is doing. Because if you're on the front, you learn about what the enemy is doing. Then it's up to you to think and move your chess piece. What am I going to do now? And the reality is like, the Ukrainians are so bogged down in kind of like the meat and potatoes of like, okay, we got to like get propellers, we got to get motors, we got to like build out a frame. And then you just become like kind of like stamping out drone platforms that are like rather kind of like, like there's a lot of them. There's a game of volume. But what we've also learned is just like, mass doesn't cut it. Like you just can't, like there's a line between cheap mass. And I've been around, but most of my time is kind of spent at like, drone factories, and kind of like integrating into like various platforms. But like the amount of times people are like, Brian, like look at this drone. It's $10. And I'm like, yeah, and it doesn't fucking work. Like, at a certain point, like, I don't know if this sounds stupid, but like, better things cost more money, and there's
that
kind
is a
of
shocking revelation.
Yes, but figuring out where that like cost benefit analysis is of like, okay, $1 drones aren't doing it, and they have very little capability. Let's crank up the dial, but we could have a zillion of them versus like, let's crank up the dial for the drone to cost $100,000, have capability, and will be 45% effective. Like, I don't know where those two dials go, but I know it's not $1 drones, and I know it's kind of not like billion-dollar drones. It's somewhere in between. And I think right now, we're kind of in a stage of kind of like figuring out what the price points kind of are. And because like, yeah, like, listen, I like, okay, $200,000 might sound expensive, but if it's 100% effective, think about the 1,000 of drones that crashed immediately, didn't make it across the front, whatever. You wasted $1 billion on trash. So it's kind of witnessing that sort of stuff that has been a bit kind of, I think, valuable to me. And like, listen, the reality is just like, there's just no way to like integrate this thing and like work with these like without like me being here. Like there's no way. I am not a platform maker. Like if you're building a platform, I think it might be a little bit easier, but like I have to work. I'm not selling directly to the government. It's good that the government knows who I am and stuff, or the MOD, but I am dealing with people that are building platforms. So I have to have relationships with those people. I need to like, and I'm at the behest and the whim of whatever their platform is, however good it works or doesn't good it works, the weather, air raid alarm. I mean, every time there's an air raid alarm over here, like we can't fly, because everything is grounded. And they, you have a startup. I have a small business sort, like all, like think of all of the problems that you have running a small business startup. I mean, everyone's got those problems too, times the fact that there's like a war going on. So like they're faced with tremendous logistical challenges, operational challenges. I know a company here that's a camera provider for me. Like their CTO got called to the front because the guy forgot to like fill out the paperwork that he was like an important person, like, you know, and then suddenly, okay, our lead technical person ain't around no more. And now what do we do? It's kind of like, you know, death by a zillion little paper cuts.
How impressed are you, or not unimpressed are you, by like just the Ukrainian kind of engineering machine that has been stood up around semi-autonomous and autonomous systems?
So, you know, the platforms I have seen have been, I think what's impressive is that they've been able to kind of manufacture volumes of these things, like building 500 medium strike, long range strike, you know, deep strike platforms a month, is hard. There's logistical challenges, procurement challenges, cash flow challenges, contractual challenges. Like that shit is really hard. But like, I think the systems are rather like, you know, rather primitive. You know, like you know, and like, you know, what I've been building has taken 4 or 5 years, and it's taken and even listen, even if you give the smartest guy or gal all the money in the world today, and you ask them to build like an at-edge computer vision, blah, blah, blah thing, they couldn't do it. Like, you know, all the money in the world doesn't solve the problem of time. At the end of the day, like you just like it's too hard to be fighting a war, to be fighting like a war of innovation, to be fighting a war of like logistics and supply chains. It's just like too many things to kind of deal with. So like, you know, if you're in a raft and the raft is like sinking, you know, you're concerned with like chewing bubble gum and trying to cover up the little holes in the boat and just to kind of like stay afloat. So you kind of, you know, I think you kind of need someone with like a paradigm shifting sort of capability, who's been like in the back of the room quietly for a couple years, building something that is not going to be able to be easily defeated, that is not going to be able to be like some sort of minor escalation. You know, the enemy's going to do something quickly, and you're going to have to, you need somebody to come out of nowhere and kind of have a capability that kind of wows everyone and goes, holy shit, I don't know how to stop this thing. And I think that's what the promise of what we're doing has.
Okay, so take a step back. How did you get into this space? I think this is one of the best stories I've heard.
So yeah. So my background's a little unusual. I went to NYU. I studied film production. So I produced independent movies and I produced TV commercials and things like that. Yeah, I always wanted to be a movie director. And then I was always very, very interested in unique camera technology and kind of like unique image acquisition technologies and stuff like that. And in 2013, I bought a big, expensive Swedish drone with the idea that I was going to rent it out to my Hollywood film friends and like, get like cool movie shots. I was like, oh, people in Hollywood are totally going to want to like put cameras on these drones and fly them around. And by the way, 2013, 2014, when I did this, I mean, this was 333 exemption. This was before Part 107. I was actually one of the first like 5 or 6 like legal drone operators in the country. I testified in front of Congress on drone regulations. But
Did you wear this?
Yeah, I wore this velour suit. Yes, I wore it to Congress. I never really cared about like aviation. Like I didn't care. I cared about like camera equipment being flown in the sky. I thought was kind of cool. So I ended up by the way, when I bought my Swedish drone, I actually took it because I kind of thought, okay, I need some like marketing material. Maybe I should take my Swedish drone and go into Ukraine and film Chernobyl with it. So I actually took my drone, landed, and there was the Maidan. There was a revolution happening in the country when they were like kicking out Viktor Yanukovych. And so I landed during that, filmed Chernobyl for 2 days. So me, drones, and like Ukraine is some sort of like nexus. Well, yes, the Holy Trinity. I came back to America and I essentially started my drone service cinematography company, where I probably for a couple of years had the biggest drone cinematography service company in the world. We did Steven Spielberg movies and Fast and the Furious movies and movies that won Best Picture at the Academy Awards.
Did you do the famous where the two cars are driving and they split at the end? Did you film that one or no?
No, honestly, I never even saw one of those goddamn movies.
Oh my God, the greatest ending of any Fast and Furious out there.
Anyway, I know that our shots did make the movie. I just couldn't tell you exactly what. I don't even know what it was. Fast and Furious 13, 18.
I was hoping you created one of the greatest memes of all time, but
No, I don't. I'd have to double check. But so anyway, so I kind of listen. It was we were doing a few $1 million in revenue, but it was like a real shitty business. I mean, I never took a business class in my life, but it was a service company. Drone crashes, FAA regulation problems, people problems. You name the problem, I had the problem. And essentially, I decided to build a tool that helped software tool that helped drone cinematographers get more precise drone footage. That was kind of the genesis of this software I have now. And so I one day walked into my office. I essentially fired everyone except the 2 software engineers I had. This was about 2018, 2019. And I knew nothing about the DoD, nothing about aerospace. I was sad and desperate in Buffalo, New York, at some sort of investor CEO speed dating seminar. And, you kind of sit across the table from a guy for 4 minutes. You show him what you have and, he's, says something to you. And this guy kind of told me that he was running a DoD funded, Air Force funded Techstars cohort, essentially designed to find innovative technology companies and inject them into the bloodstream of the DoD, and that I should apply, and that the application closes in 20 minutes. So, I mean, my initial reaction was like, sir, doesn't the DoD already have all of this stuff? Like, what on earth could I possibly do to help the Department of Defense? For I am a mere stable boy. And I, applied for the thing in 5 minutes and got into this Techstars DoD program in 2020 and moved from New York to Boston. And I very quickly met a lot of people from the soft world, from the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, the Intel world, etc. My initial reaction was, okay, these people have more money than God, certainly more money than Hollywood. And I also kind of thought to myself, everyone here is kind of saying AI and saying AI this, AI that. And I'm like, I don't think anyone knows what the hell they're talking about. And I didn't know what I was talking about, but I believed I could talk, but I knew they didn't know, and I believed I could talk a better game than they could. And I have a very simple rule of sales, which is you cannot sell shit to people if they don't know you exist. And no one knew we existed at the time. So during COVID, I moved to a log cabin by Lake Winnipesaukee, New Hampshire. I built a tool that scraped all of Google for every DoD email. They all end in .mil. So I had this tool and it found 50,000 .mil email addresses on Google. I scraped every PDF, every PowerPoint, every Word document, and by the way, Google doesn't want you to do this. So it actually was rather sophisticated to kind of do this. And then I sent 50,000 cold emails to the Department of Defense. And then for the next 8 months, I probably spoke to around 2,000 people cold at the DoD on Zoom calls. And I essentially asked them what their biggest problem was. And they all said to me, GPS denied navigation. And it just so happened that the product I was building for drone cinematographers, I thought if I tweaked it a little bit, I could essentially there was a feature of my product that I thought if I made that feature the main product, it would solve the GPS denied navigation thing. So kind of just in my first 7-8 months of the DoD, I won about $7 million of non-dilutive capital. My growth hacking of the DoD thing kind of worked. I won 5 phase 2 SBIRs. I won 2 TAC-FIs, a couple of OTAs, an IDIQ. End of last year, I started to kind of sell, end of Q4 2023, I started to sell systems to large U.S. drone manufacturers and other folks, sold some systems internationally. And then at the beginning, Q1 of this year, I decided I was working with a customer in Riga, Latvia, came into Ukraine for 2 weeks to kind of help with an integration and a demo. And somebody found out I was here. I got invited to kind of an important politician, military person's office. And he asked me if I wanted to help him win the war. And I thought, well, that's provocative. Sure. What do you got? And I got kind of deeply enmeshed in, drone warfare.
Yeah, that is honestly probably my favorite origin story of anyone I've talked to.
Thanks for listening to the Drone Wars podcast. Each week, we bring you fascinating conversations with leaders shaping the future of air, sea, land, and space technologies. Catch new episodes every Tuesday wherever podcasts can be found. Until then, we'll see you next time.